Fire Emblem Shadows, the tactical RPG that basically plays like an Among Us slash Who Did It type of game. There's a traitor within the fields, and so you gotta keep your eyes and wits about while watching who looks the most suspicious, ranging from not healing the party, damaging y'all, or just standing out very weirdly and even menacingly. Once the traitor is revealed, it is up to you and your friends to defeat all the enemies in the area to win this game. As the traitor, your goal is to defeat your allies by not looking sus with a dang mo. When pressured to vote, make sure that you have the perf al so they vote for the wrong person. Once you're revealed anyways, you must defeat your friends and allies to win this game. With that being said, let's get into the good and the bad points of this game. My name is Anna and welcome to my store. No, that's for another day. I do like how the story has both a villain's and a hero side, as you get to see from both perspectives on how each of their paths correlated into one another's, to really get the whole inside scoop on the lore. You know what I think is an interesting concept for the gameplay? Is that being an ally and being able to attack your teammates, as now, instead of the traitor being the only one that can hurt you, so it kind of pinpoints and just mitigates, okay, maybe it's not this guy, and maybe it's not that person, it's just this person. Instead of that, you and your teammates can accidentally or intentionally kill one of your other teammates, leading them to pick you instead of the other person. So it kind of has this whole sort of, you gotta actually kind of plan how you're going to attack, when you're going to attack, and why you're going to attack. Just a little bit of strategy in this strategy-based game. I also think it's interesting that while you can't control your movement, you can control where your skills will be positioned. And since you don't know where you're going to move, neither does your opponent, and vice versa. So if you're trying to intentionally attack somebody on a square, they're going to keep moving in a random path that you won't be able to see. So you gotta make sure that you're still, watching about and seeing how these people move, act and react, type of sort of thing. Alright? Because you can also miss your attack. Alright? Because you can't just keep spamming attacks. You can't just miss an attack off rip, right? And it'll leave you open for the opposition of the enemy to come and attack you. The music. Oh my goodness. The music for this mobile-based game, they actually have some pretty good tracks. But I mean, that's expected from Fire Emblem, obviously. So, as per usual, let me give you my top 5 favorites. It goes Shopping at the Bazaar, United Hearts, Memories of Home, Moment of Unity, and lastly, Shattered Glass.
Alright, but with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the intermission part of this game.
No?
What do you mean, no?
Swag, you simple-minded simian, Shinobi Strikers, Shiness, and even Rainbow Six Siege had even more good points than just one for each category, man. What are you doing? You're being lazy.
Alright. I know. That's pretty crazy. I know that's pretty crazy, alright? But look, let's just get through the review first, and at least get through this intermission. And I'll explain why it's just a little bit on some good and a whole lot on some bad. I promise you it will all make sense. But for now, an intermission.
Man, this game is, something. I'll tell you that. With an interesting concept of playing with others in real time and figuring out who's a traitor, to a fairly simple yet interesting premise of a story, Fire Emblem Shadows definitely is an idea that if executed even decently, then it could get a mention from other bigger Fire Emblem content creators. Speaking of which, it seems that a lot of people online were dunking and hating on the game. Even an infamously known Fire Emblem creator named Mangs called people the R word if they like this game.
This is not Fire Emblem. This is another mobile game that's been in development for some time that they last minute decided to put a coat of Fire Emblem paint on it because they think you're retarded enough to download this slop. That's all it is. they have such little regard for their own IP that they licensed it away to this garbage slop of a game. Mangs, when are you going to play this on your channel? No, I'm not going to play this on my channel. I'm not going to degrade myself to playing this slop on the channel.
And though I have quite a lot of bad to say for this game, my brother, why would you say that? You should never get hit with such random derogatory words like that for no reason. I know sometimes they'll be like, man, you goober, joober, smatter, banner, but like, not that. You know what I mean? That is just, that's terrible. And at the end of the day, it's a joke. This dude actually means it like that, alright? But hey, why get so bent out of shape? I'll just add homonym about Mangs because...
Yes, pity the fool who stands between Flavia and a full cover, nigga!
And keep in mind, all I did was search up his YouTube channel on Google. But regardless, I initially had to not only look at his video, but other people talking about this game. Mostly for the ad revenue and spamming slop, blah, 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 and other words that they just think are just buzzwords, alright? Look, guys, alright, I hate to tell you this, when you use a word, in this case slop, for everything that you see, then the word loses its meaning. Whining and complaining that it's not a real Fire Emblem game, as if no other franchise has ever thought about experimenting with other genres. Like, you're not seeing Mario getting chewed out for being a platformer to a racing game, an RPG, a TRPG, etc. So why are the only 10 Fire Emblem fans complaining about a change? Not all change is bad. Come on guys, we should know this. But at the same time, not all change is good. And with that being said, there's sadly some weight behind what these clickbaity content creators are talking about. Alright? As you couldn't even pay me enough to keep quiet about this. Alright? I gotta talk about the bad about this game. Alright? But I mean, to be fair, I don't really get paid at all for doing YouTube. Like, for all these years, I've never gotten paid. So, you know these reviews are gonna be hyper fixated and legit. But, real talk though, heads up 7-0. The game does have many flaws. And with that being said, let us get into them. The story, man. The story is all over the place, especially the villain's route. So, since the game came out only like a few weeks ago, I'm only able to and going to review book 1 for both the heroes and the villain's route. So, right now what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be starting with the hero's route first, then going into the villains. So, let me tell you the sum up. Now, the story setup is that a prince named Kurt is trying to restore his homeland after some ruffians came into his region and tore it all down. Kurt then is able to find his allies and defeat the minions chasing him. All seems well until this wolf dude named Skull tells Kurt that one of his allies will betray him tonight. But Kurt reassures Skull that he trusts all of them, so they all set up camp for the night and go to sleep. Kurt then has many dreams where he has to fight all of his friends, as each one of them has betrayed him in one way or another. Or, in the game's case, this is mainly used as a way to let you know how to actually play the game. So it's like a tutorial and a story at the same time. After fighting all of the allies, and even yourself, you wake once more to see Skull, and he still wants to make a pact with you. He gives you a proposition to give up your free will to be in control of him in order to get any wish you want, that being to restore Kurt's homeland. But Kurt's basically like, I have a mission, a reason to live. Me and my companions have fought tooth, nail, and nickel to get this far. I won't falter so easily. And so Skull just kills Kurt. Skull kills Kurt. But then Kurt wakes up and the next day sees that it was all an assumed dream. And after the team gives him reassurance of not betraying the crew, their first step is to go to the place called Holtz and regroup with Kurt's fiancée, Rose, to get her support in rebuilding Kurt's kingdom. As soon as they were almost to Holtz, an assassin named Zasha threatened to compromise their position to the enemy, but Kurt talked no jutsu him to join his side, somehow. Zasha then goes to wash off his scent so he doesn't get picked up so easily, and accidentally walked in on Kurt also taking a cleansing in the river, and revealed that he was not a dude but a woman. The reasoning as to why Kurt lied about his gender was because the hierarchy system would have went to questioning since her father only had her, a daughter. So she kept up appearances. They also asked if Rose knows, about this, and she said that she does. More on that later. Then Team Kurt sees a cave, and it leads to the climax of the book, as throughout the journey, Kurt didn't doubt any of her allies, until the shadow enemies, led by Skull, traveled through the secret entrances of this cave due to having an inside source from the Traitor. After realizing this, Kurt reassures the team that they will win. And you remember how Kurt went to that whole spiel about rebuilding the kingdom? That a mission, a reason to live, right? Well, one of the allies tries to reassure Kurt that you have a mission, a reason to live. And that right there was the tip-off in realizing, wait a minute, I said that in my dream. How would you have known that if that was a dream? Probably because it wasn't a dream. Maybe Skull actually killed me. And it was right then and there that she actually realized that she had died. And so, in order to not let that happen, the commander in charge, Godhold, gave his soul to a woman named Hati, aka Skull's little sister, and it's under their submission for letting Kurt live. Once Godhold got corrupted, he lashed out at the team and was about to kill them, but then in his last bit of strength, used it to attack Hati and made her back off for the time being. The team survives and leaves into Holtz, honoring and remembering the sacrifice Godhold made in order to keep the prince's dream alive, and that is the end of Book 1 for the heroes. Book 1 for the villains stars Lyn from Fire Emblem Blazing Blade on the GBA, who now has horse ears for some reason, and is told by two heroes named Sai and Shea that she's the chosen one who will save everyone. Then there's this B-plot with this human named Bartolomeus, but since that name is a bunch of mumbo jumbo, we're just gonna call him Bart. So Skull comes into contact with Bart and brings him along, I guess. Then when Zasha flies over to his burned city, Hati talks to him for a little bit and basically says, yeah, you can't really do anything. You're kind of lame and garbage. And I think your sister died, which is like terrible. I don't know how you're that good or something like that. And then that's it. Okay. Then back to Lyn, her and her friends make it to the cave at the same time conveniently as the hero side comes in. So now it's Lyn and these two divine dragons coming in to face the Blue Lion's prince, Dimitri. And this actually had me a little bit excited, alright? Skull has Dimitri under his trance, alright? In some way or another. I'm hyped, alright? This is getting me hyped up on the edge of my seat. Old Jin versus the new Jin. The Princess of Kalen versus the Prince of Vargas. Oh man, I'm ready. Finally, something within this story to happen. Let's get it, villains. But in Shadows' typical fashion, they off-screen the fight with Lyn winning, I think. Which, technically shouldn't even be possible considering Lyn's stats versus Dimitri's stats in the endgame. And even then, Lyn is a sword user and Dimitri's a lance user. And in the weapon triangle, lance users beat swords users. Hey, that's just me. This is Fire Emblem Shadows. I'm gonna let it roll with it. And Godhold, meeting with Sai and Shea, and asks to get the power to beat Hati, the power of a deity. And so, they give it to him, and that's the end of the villain story, with Lyn and crew going about their way. Now that you got the story summary, let me tell you about my bad points, starting with the hero story. First off, this dude Zasha was jet set, full radio, on blackmailing Kurt and crew. But Kurt mentions one random thing about his younger sister whom she knows nothing about, and that exact line is what convinces him to just say, you know what? Hey Kurt, man, you right, man. My sister, she died. She was kind of homeless. I don't know how you could be kind of homeless, but she died. And you know what? I'll be on your side. Even though I don't know how you would know that, because I don't know how you would know that. We're literally from two different villages. But you know what? I'll be on your side. Like, what? The reveal for Kurt actually being a girl, and the reasoning as to why she had to keep appearances, is pretty sound and understandable. But the problem is that in both physique and voicing, you can tell it's a girl. I mean, duh. I thought we were kind of like trying to role play along, like, you know, playing along with, you know, oh, you know, she wants to play as a prince, you know, that was gonna be. And I was like, you know, okay, that's what we'd be kind of playing along with that, right? Even if I got beat up, I'd still be like, oh, there's still the prince, you know, because I thought that's what she was just trying to do. She was just trying to play along. It was a big little thing, you know, yada, yada, yada. But no, she was actually really adamant about doing this because of what she's saying, you know, of what her goals and her alignments are. My thing is that I still don't know how she got away with keeping this secret, since it would be nearly too just impossible to keep up appearances unless you heavily avoided people or just didn't speak to them. This is gonna sound weird, but when you hear me out, it's gonna sound completely understandable, alright? I have two problems, and it both involved the relationship with Kurt and Rose. And before someone says, and this is what I'm trying to talk about, no, it's not because two girls liking each other, blah, 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 blah. Alright, here's the thing. I don't support it. You know, go say boo. Alright? But that is not going to be my reasoning for my two problems. Alright? So don't bring all that llama drama around here. Okay? Now then, my first problem is how open she is with Rose, knowing that she can't sit still and flies away from her retainers, since she's also a princess too. This is really, really bad news, since she's aware of Kurt's secret. If she gets captured and interrogated, she'll more likely spill the beans because she's a blabbermouth, and ultimately is a liability. And more importantly, Kurt and Rose were like really long distance, alright? Really long distance. So Kurt just has to hope that Rose just doesn't say anything to anybody else, or does this, or does that, or does this, knowing what she does in her, you know, free time of flying away and doing all this stuff, not really keeping bounds of being a princess. So I don't know why you really trust her with such a big, gigantuous secret like that. My second and last problem is that, and it kind of comes about in a roundabout way, alright? Let's just say, hypothetically, just speaking funny here, y'all are able to restore Kurt's kingdom, and both queens get married and live happily ever after. Who will be the next heir? Like, you'll have to more than likely adopt a child, hopefully with some noble birth, or otherwise you'll be right back to where you started. Oh, look at this peasant child. He can't be the leader, blah, 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 blah. You'll literally start all the way back after you die with people going to discourse again and wondering who will lead the kingdom once again. What you did just now was that you put a band-aid on a gun wound, alright? It's gonna hold for a little bit, but it's only such a temporary patch that eventually it will break, because it's a gun wound. It's just, Kurt, I need you to have some foresight, bro. Come on. You can do this, milady. I also think Gotthold being corrupted, despite helping both the heroes and the villains, is really stupid, as I think the game wanted this to be like a monkey's paw type of rule, as you have to be very specific in what you wish for. And that could work, but he did specify, and he did say what he wanted, alright? He wanted Prince Kurt to live so she could see her vision come to fruition. Bars! I don't think he left anything up to speculation or what he might possibly could want in what he wanted. So again, I say, why make him fight the crew? And let's talk about the villain's plan. The villain's motif. Their whole thing is to give you this opportunity of a lifetime with a wish. And in return, they take away your free will and you must do exactly what they say. But said people like Gotthold and even Skull and Haiti are aware of what's going on. So what I'm trying to say is, if this was going to be Gotthold's fate, of if he defied, the villains, the goddess, right, and her wishes and stuff, and Haiti and Skull, then he'd fade out of existence. Then why not just mislead the villains somewhere else, after telling the crew the truth, and take one for the team? It's not like the enemies can see what you see, through your eyes of vision, and can talk to you telepathically. The game wants you to believe that Godhold just walks off each day to relay new information to the enemy, when the crew was told that there was literally a traitor among them the previous days before. Comes back, and then the next days of many days, the enemy knows exactly where they are and what routes to take. That definitely doesn't look suspicious at all. Like seriously, why not just tell Prince Kurt you're the traitor, and that you might become berserk so you can't stay here, or he'll hurt all of y'all. Leave, then mislead the enemy in a cold trail, and if they come back to track you down, you'll already be way too separate and distanced from both sides. So, even if the villains find you, it'll be too late, as you've already distanced yourself from knowing more info. They'll see you as useless, and you'll fade away to your death. At least knowing that the team will indeed, and definitely guarantee, make it to Holtz, and be at ease for a little while longer while staying there. But nah, like someone would usually tell me when I would say stuff like that just makes too much sense, because this isn't logical Emblem Shadows, this is Fire Emblem Shadows. So he just keeps walking with them, and if not making that last ditch wish with the divine dragons to have the power of a god for a moment, then all of his friends would have been dead. This dude literally kept walking with his friends, and if he did not see some divine dragons to give him the power of a god for like a mere moment for a punch, he would have died, and his friends would have also had died because of him. And it's not like that wish even killed Hades or Skull, because they take the hit and are like, oh snap, he kinda strong, and then just flee from the situation. So, you mean to tell me that the villains are still at large, Godhold's dead, and despite Lyn and the Divine Dragons knowing there's another group of heroes literally in the next room, they don't bother to go over to greet and or thank them. Okay, game. Okay. I also think Lyn's story is a little as here's the setup on how it goes. Where am I? Ah, the chosen one. My name is Sai, and this is my younger sister Shea. And what your name might be? It's Lindis, or just Lyn for short. Well, Lyn, I have a prophecy to tell you. Since you are the chosen one, you will slay the shadows being controlled by Fenris, the goddess of shadow, and save all of Ast. All of what? Ast. A-S-T. Like, the kingdom? I'm really sorry. I don't remember anything outside of my name. Well, let me ask you such a simple and basic question. If you saw a village getting burned to the ground, family members being slain, and captured to do very terrible things against their will, what would you do in that situation? Is that even a question? I'd fight back. I would save those people. And that, right there, is why you are the chosen one. Come on now, we gotta market this game by having you in it. Otherwise, people wouldn't really care for the newer people. As if no other Fire Emblem game has made stories with different characters. Ike, Marth, Robin? Never heard of them. Chrome, Titania, Elysium? Never heard of them. Erica,
how long is it gonna keep going on for?
What did you like to know, pony girl?
Jeez.
Ash?
Sorry.
Never heard of them. Raphael? Sumir? Roy? Never heard of them. And so on and so forth, because I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm trying to say. Man, I gotta chill out with that voice. Wow, this plot is moving way too fast at an astonishing rate. You're right. I will save and I will help those people. Let's go. And that's pretty much the story of the villain's B plot. So, the story is this A plot with the heroes, a B plot with Lyn and these divine dragons, and lastly a C plot with the villains. And IMO, I feel like they just kind of threw some ideas to the wall and just ran with it, hopefully thinking that it would work. I mean, I don't think the game is gonna make a book 10 anytime soon, and if it does, please mention me so I can give a rundown on all the chapters, and I might come back to that. This video gets probably 10 likes, alright? Alright. Until then, the story is more of a addition to the gameplay, I say on quotations, as without it, there's no real reason to keep playing it outside just seeing of the fan characters, the fan 2 favorite characters, Zasha, Kurt, Godhold, and the other 10 characters that no one cares about, leading it to be a mediocre 15 character roster. This is what I'm talking about when I say that they just threw stuff to the wall just so it would hopefully stick to something. Now let's get into the gameplay. The people in this game can be very, very dumb. Now, not all people, but a lot, or at least a decent amount of people can be really dumb, as you can just mess up in front of them. You can literally deliberately kill them and do all this stuff and mess up so horribly that even a child would be like, dang, this dude is the bad guy. Yet they'll usually, and almost every time, verbatim, one-to-one, down-to-down, word for word, will choose the wrong option despite seeing your icon clearly as Dimitri or something, intentionally and deliberately damaging them. They will see your character icon and be like, you know, I don't think he's actually a bad guy. Like, okay, bro. Okay, bro. I'm not a big fan of the auto move, as I want to position myself, my person, in very specific places, and not whatever the said character wants to go to. As in literally every Fire Emblem game, even Heroes, they'll either let you manually move your characters in the battle so you can position your people how you want to, or auto battle, where the AI will do the whole placing and battling for you. I don't really like this thing of them moving in a spot and then them holding a spot, because whenever they're trying to attack, right, sometimes they will try to attack and then they'll just miss the attack because the other person's just walking away to a different space. It's not that they miss due to a random RNG chance. No, it's because they literally walk to a different space, you attack because your character doesn't want to attack in any time, despite seeing the enemy in front of them, and then misses. Like, that's so dumb and stupid. Why would you wait until they finally moved to then hit? This is mainly prevalent within the tutorial stage, but some animations aren't complete, as no matter what, this frame with the weapon swing will always freeze up and then move. It's a minor mention pet peeve, but it's still dumb nonetheless, since they could have just made a few more frames to just finish the basic attack / out. Like, it's like, how do you, come on, just a few more frames and boom, contact, it'll hit. When you choose who is the traitor in the party, you'll get a heart that will be used if you took damage during the first round. Or if you didn't, that one heart will be saved and used as a life. So in case you go down, you'll be revived again. Now, if you incorrectly answer, who's supposed to be the traitor, you'll only get one heart, right? Right. Okay. But if you answer correctly, you'll get 2 hearts. So if you die twice, you'll be revived twice. Now, the problem comes with the fact that as the traitor, you only have 1 life, so that's already at a massive disadvantage. Your attack power is basically the same as the allies, so y'all are pretty much on even fields. You're not like this buff dude who actually feels like a boss. You're just basically another dude. You're basically facing against the allies with a little bit more of HP. But that's not the worst part, alright? The worst part is when you face people who have abilities that constantly fortify defense, or you have a healer who will constantly heal even if they took a smidge of damage. Or worse, is having both defense and heals, as any damage you'll do will be for naught, since you're essentially fighting an impenetrable wall, which is as annoying as it sounds. Continuing on this point, and kind of being a little bit more forward about the traitor thing, being the dark has to be one of the lamest and underwhelming things ever. What I mean by this is, remember how I just talked about that heal fence defense and the heals and all that stuff? Well, imagine that, but every time you play, as most fights will just be a bunch of stalling matches with the light, the heroes, side being in the game's favor, leading to fights feeling extremely unbalanced in favor for the heroes, alright? And it's just so dumb. It's like, again, I'm a boss. I should feel like a boss. I should feel like someone who's actually doing damage to these people, not just some guy who's like, I guess I'm throwing this, or I guess I'm throwing that. And to make matters worse, and this goes for both sides, if you die, right, if your character dies, your cooldowns on your skills will be reduced even less. So if, let's say I use an electricity attack, and it's supposed to be a 5-second cooldown. Well, now that I'm dead, it's going to be like an 8 to 10 second cooldown, which is understandable, so people don't just start spamming a whole bunch of stuff. But when I am literally the villain who is supposed to intentionally kill these 2 people, not 1 person, 2 people, and that's if they don't summon an ally, which that'll be like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 people already on the field that I have to deal with. And granted, I know you can get your own allies, but they don't even really do anything. They're just more of like, hey, they're here just in case you fall. If these dudes are alive, they have to go kill them, and then, then it'll be game over. It's just so dumb. Like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. I don't like it. I don't really like it at all. And it doesn't even matter. Even if you win the fights, it doesn't matter. Because in the game's eyes, everyone wins. Hooray! So, you'll keep getting rank points and really good rewards despite you losing. And even when you win, it's barely much, as you'll need these page fragments to continue the so-called story mode in the game. Also, a minor mention with that whole rank thing and, getting these story fragments. So if you want to continue on with the story, right, you need a certain amount of page numbers or page fragments by going into online battles and getting those things that way. So basically what I'm trying to say is, in order to continue the campaign or the story mode, you have to play online battles. Could you imagine that for games like Call of Duty? That in order to continue on with the campaign, you had to go to online battles and go defeat people? Imagine a Xenoverse, alright? That, not parallel quests, just online battles just in general. You had to go online. If you wanted to defeat Demigra, you literally had to go to online battles and go face real life people online. That just sounds so stupid. You want to play Smash Bros. And beat the World of Light, you got to go online and go face some online matches. Oh, you want to play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and finish, Kid Buu. Oh, you got to go play that Dragon Ball Card Warriors game and go, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just so dumb. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And even then, why not also make us lose rank points? Every single time that we lose or we win, we get rank points, alright? But, like, when we get those rank points, they'll be like, 90 if you win and like 30 if you lose? Which, I mean, in this next round I'm about to talk about, whether you win or lose doesn't matter about your rank, as you'll eventually just scale up the ladder. By this strat that I'm about to tell you, it just makes everything a little bit more ease at mind. And if anything is kind of broken, then they may need to actually fix this. So, let's go ahead and get into it. Now see, since you receive the same rewards, and that you can also damage both yourself and your allies, I have a pro tip strategy if you want to get the matches over with, get your rewards, get out, alright? Hear me out. When you first load in, you'll want to use an AoE against your peers to get the first match, done. Because there's already 2 matches. There's the first one where you gotta, do the light and go defeat all the monsters. Then there's the dark where the traitor is revealed and you have to defeat him, alright? Just a little simple rundown. Then, you'll want to try and pick someone who's not the traitor, so you won't get another life or health back, alright? You're just trying to basically play this straight. If you do that, by accident, it will take longer, alright? But you'll still be good for the strat, you'll still be good. It'll just take a little bit longer, alright? So, when the final phase starts, and this is very important, you want to immediately shoot off your AoE and hurt both you and your opponent, or at least you and your friend, to weighing down both of y'all's health until it's depleted, as if there's no more heroes or ghost allies to fight the enemy, then the traitor wins and y'all get the same payout. It's really stupid that you could just ignore the whole not looking suspicious thing and just throw a bunch of AoEs and just kill your friend. Hey, I win and I get a bunch of rewards and stuff. Like, that's so stupid, because you technically do get the kill and the chests do reward you for that, which is so baffingly stupid. It's like, isn't the whole thing is to not look suspicious and try to at least keep it up? And even then, that's not really even a thing, right? Like in Among Us, you at least get to have like a meeting, or you get to like, go do certain tasks and this and that. But this game is way too short and condensed, and they don't really let you get that opportunity. You don't get to talk to you don't even get to talk to your friends. You don't even get to chat to them, nothing. So all of it is just quick time speculation on, and I guess it's this guy. Just throwing a random pick out there. Like, what? Okay, so again, I guess it's really, it's really stupid that they could just ignore the whole not looking suspicious thing of the game. As I know, Emblem Shadows didn't want you to do this. They really didn't. I promise you they didn't, alright? But they should have expected at least a concept of that, knowing good and well I could just hurt my friends for no good reason and just ultimately mess each other over. For again, no good reason. Just like Shiness the Lightning Kingdom, this music also exists. It's not really as noteworthy. It got to a point where I literally had to turn down the music because it was so droning. And I know I mentioned the whole OSTs and how good the soundtracks are, but I literally had to go out of my way to go find these soundtracks, for myself. That's usually how it goes in some of these games. And then I think to myself, wow, this game really has more tracks than this one vapid dribble. Why don't y'all just play those? Why don't y'all make those stand out? Like, come on. Also, while this game is not no Xenoverse 2, the music in this game will blare in your ears when you play the game for the first time, which is obviously pretty lame. So, if you're probably wondering why all of this is like so almost on the last week instead of it being way earlier within the weeks, if you're wondering why it took so long, outside of personal reasons, I'll tell you, it's because of how hard it was to get footage of this game. So, originally, I wanted to record on my PC, as my phone storage is garbage, so I downloaded BlueStacks and tried to download the game, but it said my device wasn't compatible. So, after doing some research, I got a new device that was compatible, but then the game would crash. And so I tried multiple times, uninstalling and reinstalling the game along with BlueStacks, changed the configurations in the Android emulator, yet nothing worked. So I went and found another Android clone called Mumu Player, which is partnered with NetEase Games, who are known for Creative Destruction, which is a Fortnite clone, and also a more better known game, PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, a really good shooter BR that I might or might not talk about one day. Again, if y'all want that, let me know. I'll do some rankings of BRs. But the same thing happened on Mumu Player 2, with the game just crashing over and over and over again, and not letting me get past the tutorial or the first cutscene of the game. It was so bad, I literally have 7 gigs worth of failed startups with the Fire Emblem Shadows, man. It shouldn't have been this hard to load up this game at all. I eventually took this to the social media sites, right? YouTube and all of that. And they basically all just said, go to Reddit. And man, Reddit. The old dice roll of either getting help or basically getting hit with some annoying people, to say the least. I don't think they like Americans. I then put my post in both the Fire Emblem main subreddit and the Shadows subreddit. The main subreddit basically said to just play the game normally, as, yeah, thanks Sherlock, if you just read my post you would have known that I didn't want to do it on my phone because of storage. But at hominem, ooh, that word again, it's Reddit. However, and surprisingly, the Shadows subreddit didn't downvote me to oblivion, delete the post, and weren't obnoxious, and they didn't even do basic statements that would literally even make a baby's facepalm. No, they didn't do any of that. Rather, they upvoted, and we're also trying to figure that same situation out. And I was sadly at this point like, dang man, I need to get these videos out. But yet everything that could go wrong went worse. So I said, fine Earthbound, alright Ness, I love Mother 3, I'll cave in. And I decided to record on my phone by deleting old photos and videos and many different memories that I will never more than likely get back, just to record 15 minutes of gameplay. And had to literally crunch them. I literally had to crunch them also down to 720p by using CapCut, bro. Alright? Like, we were in desperate times and desperate measures. Alright? I mean, that's usually what's happened pretty much within my whole entire lifetime of a channel, that whenever I would get footage, I would have to literally downgrade the quality because I literally don't have that much good of storage. But anyways, then I went to Dropbox, which only had 2 gigs free of upload, unless you did the free trial. But even then, it's not really a free 30-day trial, because you decide to cancel it early, you'll cancel the trial. And I don't want to pay $100 a year because we don't have all that, alright? So I just canceled it anyways. So now I'm stumped for the 3rd time, until someone showed me how to import videos and photos over from the iPhone to the PC. The person in question's username is Adrian Frasiniu? I think it's Frasiniu or Frasiniu. I'm sorry. But here's what said person had to say. So, in the settings, you'll want to search up the Photos app and scroll down till you see two options: automatic or keep original. This is assuming that you're on the phone, either automatic or keep original. And in this case, you'll want to keep the originals on the iPhone. Then, when you put the USB into the PC, trust the PC. And when you click on your phone storage, you'll see a whole bunch of numbered files. But don't be alarmed, as I learned by experimentation that, let's say hypothetically, if the file says 2025-10 or something along those lines, it's basically saying these are all your photos and videos from 2025 of October. Or if it says something like 2024-04, it'd be like, okay, 2024 of April, right? Okay, then you'll click that desired year, month folder, whichever one that you want. Click and drag the files over to wherever desired location you want them at, and then wait for the transfer. Once it's completed, you're good to go. And now you can use the files, how it was originally intended. But sometimes the transfer might get corrupted and the files won't work. It's fine. Just do the same steps you did by plugging your phone to the PC again and walking the steps, forward from there. Strategizing bro 87 strikes again. You are welcome. And now finally, for my final thoughts on the game. So, I think Fire Emblem Shadows is an interesting concept, right? If you're telling me that we gotta do all these wars and do all these fights and stuff like that, but there's literally a traitor within, our party or something like that, that actually sounds cool. If it was more full scale, that kind of thing, and you can actually play with other people, like maybe you can go through like 5 levels of facing some enemies, right? And then you could probably get another wave of other people, like, you can make your own team, and maybe some of your team members might like give money. It would be cool if maybe they prolonged it to actually like have dialogue and talking and stuff. Because as a premise, the game is pretty good. But like in execution, the story isn't really that memorable. The characters really aren't that memorable. The gameplay is alright. I mean, it'll at least probably get you through halfway of a toilet session, in the bathroom. But I wouldn't say anything more after that. And so, I would just say it's a okay game. It's at least something that, you can try it for like a few games, but it's not really something that's like, oh my goodness, this is so noteworthy, we gotta do. No. And it kind of feels at a certain point that it's like, man, was this really like a weird clapback to Fire Emblem Heroes? Because, I don't know, I would have loved a little bit more of a better scaled version of a Fire Emblem Heroes. And if they were going to go with that, why not just better Fire Emblem Heroes? That game is basically already pay to win. And I remember when they literally said, hey, we're not going to make it pay to win. But they still went with the pay to win way anyways. The Dokkan battle level of bibliographies and paragraphs on just to know that your skill might be able to attack twice, give you 30 bajillion HP and stuff like that. It's like, geez. But yeah, I think the game is alright, but I feel like it could have definitely have been better. And so, with all of that being said, my final rating for this game is a Burger King Whopper sandwich out of 10. Hey. Subscribble! Thank you all so much for watching. As out of all of the games to SwaggView, I gotta say, as of now, this was indeed the hardest to get recording footage of. Though, that did not make me hate or like this game any more or any less. In other news, Brain Dead 13 is almost done, and I can't wait for that. Night Trap is still in the works, but it is going to be done within due time. Support the channel, and this is SwaggBird87, traveling all through AST, saying to beware and take care.